What's up, Taiwan? I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. China has held a major military parade commemorating the end of World War II, and that parade has caused heated debates here in Taiwan. Here's Cadence Quaranta with more.
Taiwan President Lai pays respects to fallen soldiers in Taipei, while on the other side of the strait, President Xi Jinping holds a massive military parade to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. The way Beijing marked the date has stirred debate in Taiwan. President Lai, for one, appeared to make pointed statements towards Beijing, which used the parade to show off its latest weapons, writing in a Facebook post that Taiwan, quote, does not use weapons to commemorate peace, and instead learns from the lessons of history. Taiwan, he said, believes that weapons should be used to defend itself, rather than for aggression or expansion. Others have accused China of distorting history by celebrating victory in the war and using that history to bolster its territorial claims over Taiwan.
真正抗战胜利的主力部队是中华民国的我们的国民革命军历史的真正的那些故事，不容任何人去抹杀和篡改。我要向大陆上也提出一个建议：展示军力不是炫耀武力，要去讲清楚，尤其是要告诉台湾的同胞，大陆上绝对不会用武力来解决两岸的问题。
Experts say a key goal of the parade was to show the U.S. and other countries that China could not be contained, but also to reinforce the One China principle and to weaken Taiwan's international status.
所以其实今天它的这一个除了秀军事的肌肉之外的话，它也有很大的一个层面，其实是希望去在法律战上面去做到一些对台湾的限缩，同时去争取台湾，去压缩台湾在国际上面的空间。
Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which handles relations with China, had previously banned any government officials or former officials in key roles like intelligence or defense from attending the parade, as well as urging all other Taiwanese people not to go. But several political figures from Taiwan showed up anyway. This is Hong Xiuzhu, former chair of Taiwan's main opposition Kuomintang, watching the parade. She said in a statement that she attended to honor the soldiers who fought in the war and to remember history. A high-level KMT official also attended, as well as the chair of the pro-China New Party, now facing backlash.
中共的这个武力展示呢，严重的威胁第一岛链区域和平。他不告诉中国应该放弃这些武力威胁，反而去帮他，我觉得是站下。
The Mainland Affairs Council has also said it's going to look into whether Hong violated its ban on former officials attending the parade, given that her previous role as deputy legislative speaker gave her access to sensitive information, like the government's classified budgets. So even though the parade in China is over, it may continue to cause debate and divisiveness among officials in Taiwan for some time. Hank Xu and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
China's military capabilities were on display in the parade, including a variety of conventional and new weapon systems. Alan Liu breaks it down.
President Xi Jinping watches as China's military, known as the People's Liberation Army or PLA, paraded through Beijing's Tiananmen Square. The event marks 80 years since Japan's surrender at the end of World War II. But while tens of thousands of troops took part in the event, it was the hundreds of cutting-edge weapons that have analysts paying attention.
The PLA continues to put an emphasis on prestige symbols. Really, not only is for international audiences like Japan, the United States, and even here in Taiwan to an extent, it also is for audiences within China itself.
They point to China's most advanced domestically made weapons, things like stealth fighter jets, anti-ship missiles, and guided ballistic missile systems capable of carrying nuclear warheads. What experts call fourth-generation weapons, high-tech, precision-guided, cyber or space weapons, the cutting edge.
他这次阅兵的时候，他统一就把所有他的这种新式装备都把它命成是第4代，他会把这些东西拿出来做成长，就是代表他在传统的这些相关武力的一个建设上面，其实他一样取得一定的建设的成果。
By comparison, Taiwan, which China claims as its territory, has invested heavily in asymmetric weapons in recent years, part of a strategy focused on small, cost-effective systems that pack a punch. This has seen Taiwan massively expand its drone force. Experts say the fact that China was also showing off both its drone and counter-drone systems means it's keeping up.
I would argue that this parade has shown that maybe some of those weapons, especially in the counter-drone space, are field ready now. And once again, are being integrated at the unit level much earlier than most analysts, I think, would have expected.
Despite focusing on China's military past, this year's parade was clearly focused on future conflicts, demonstrating China's capability to adapt and incorporate technological advances into its military, and showing it seems to be well on track to meeting its modernization goals. Dolphin Chen and Ellen Liu for TaiwanPlus.
Lawmakers from the ruling Democratic Progressive Party are deepening ties with Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party.
这一次呢，我们从2+2对谈之外，我们还下一个阶段还会有一个4+4的对谈，也就扩大了政策会议，这是今年最不一样的地方。但同时呢，我们也面对一个不一样的地方，就是呢，不论是执政党也好，民进党也好，其实我们都从多数党变成少数党，但我们一样在执政。作为少数执政党的一个责任当中，我们2+2的对话要持续进行。
Taiwan and Japan's ruling parties have been holding annual party-to-party dialogues since 2021 to create closer ties through policymaking. This year's discussions focus on foreign affairs and defense, as well as disaster prevention and undersea cable security. The meeting comes after 4 senior LDP officials offered to resign on Tuesday following the party's historic defeat in legislative elections in July.
本国の自民党では、昨日大変なことが起きて、おりまして、台湾に行っている場合かと言われかねませんが、これはこれで日本と台湾の関係をより進化させていくということで、大切でありますので、あえてそちらの方は振り切って台湾に参ったところでございます。
Both parties also say they hope the annual exchanges will promote peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific. China is reportedly drilling for oil and gas inside Taiwan's exclusive economic zone. U.S. think tank the Jamestown Foundation says at least 12 oil and gas vessels and permanent structures were spotted in Taiwan's EEZ during July and August. The rigs are seen as part of Beijing's broader campaign to erode Taiwan's sovereignty. Under Taiwan law, government approval is required for any foreign construction in its EEZ, but Beijing's actions flout Taipei's jurisdiction. President Lai Ching-te says internet and phone connections are stable after reports that 9 undersea cables around Taiwan were damaged. He wrote on social media platform Threads that there were 3 affected cables and repairs should be finished by November. Taiwan has seen a sharp increase in undersea cable damage over the past year. In June, a Chinese ship captain was jailed for sabotage. Officials say such incidents are part of China's gray zone tactics aimed at undermining Taiwan's telecom security. The cause of this latest damage is still unclear. Taiwan chip giant TSMC will no longer be able to receive U.S.-made chip-making tools at its facility in Nanjing, China. That's after Washington further tightened export controls on Chinese fabs. The move mirrors U.S. actions last week on Chinese fabs operated by Korean chipmakers Samsung and SK Hynix. The U.S. Commerce Department says current China fabs can keep running with U.S. gear, but they can't expand or upgrade. TSMC says it's communicating with the U.S. government and is committed to the smooth operation of the Nanjing fab. That factory mainly produces chips for automotive and industrial applications using older 16 and 28 nanometer technologies. The facility accounts for about 3% of the company's global capacity. For more about what the controls mean for TSMC and its China operations, our reporter Chris Gorin spoke to Shravan Kundojala of SemiAnalysis.
Now that Washington has decided to cut off TSMC from U.S. chip-making tools for its facilities in Nanjing, China, what might be the impact on TSMC and the chip industry in China?
The decision definitely cripples Chinese fabless ecosystem by taking out a big company's presence within China by by limiting TSMC from expanding its capacity in China. In terms of capacity, revenue, and profit, that fab contributes to low single-digit percentage of TSMC's revenue. But I think if you look at the broader picture, actually, it's a strategic fab for TSMC to operate in China because there are thousands of fabless companies in China. I think it's very important for TSMC to capture all of that opportunity with Chinese companies and be a provider to them. So now the bigger question mark is what will happen to the China for China strategy, right? I mean, China has mandated that the production has to happen within China. If TSMC is not able to get equipment, it's not able to expand the capacity, that business will now go to some of the local fabs, SMIC, Huahong, these companies, and potentially to Huawei.
There's been a lot of focus on TSMC's overseas fabs in Arizona, in Japan, but what kind of products is this Nanjing facility making?
For Nanjing fab, TSMC makes 28 nanometer and 16 nanometer based chips. So basically, these chips go into smartphones, Wi-Fi. Think of them like connectivity, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, RF transceivers. On the automotive side, you have various power management chips and image sensors and some of the, and in industrial type of applications, IoT type of applications, wearables and digital TV SoCs, things like this. So it's not like cutting edge data center or cutting edge smartphone or AI processor, but if you look at the global demand in terms of wafers, I mean, mature node is still more than 2/3 of wafer demand. But in terms of revenue, advanced node is it's a big contributor. But in terms of raw volume, if you look at mature node is still fairly significant.
What do you think this latest move says about U.S. export control strategy moving forward, and how should companies like TSMC prepare?
Yeah, it's definitely they are doubling down on export controls, and this definitely closes the loophole they previously had. But I think TSMC has to operate within these constraints, and they have to satisfy the government requirements. Even if they lose some of the share to competitors, I think they should be okay. I mean, if you look at TSMC's broader revenue split picture, right, almost 3/4 of the revenue is advanced nodes, right? So that's where most of the profits are. That's where most of the opportunity for them.
That was Shravan Kundojala of SemiAnalysis. U.S. search giant Google can keep its internet browser Chrome, handing the company a big win in one of the largest U.S. antitrust cases in decades. A district court judge ruled the company did not have to sell off the browser or its Android operating system. U.S. officials had sought to break up the company, saying it held an illegal monopoly over the online search industry. The judge ruled that Google could continue revenue-sharing agreements with phone makers like Apple for searches made on their devices, but barred exclusive deals. Google reportedly pays Apple $20 billion per year to be the default search engine on iPhones. And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, we head to Hawaii, where the Kilauea volcano is erupting. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.